The following presentation is a gift from the team at Streamline Publishing, publishers of Fine Art Connoisseur, Plein Air Magazine, and weekly newsletters Fine Art Today, Realism Today, Plein Air Today, and American Watercolor, and events, the Plein Air Convention and the Figurative Art Convention. We offer over 400 different art instruction tutorials and ultra high-quality video by the world's leading artists. If you like what you see, help us support our artists and our team with your purchase. Each video aired has a special discount code for today only in the comments section with a link to the video offered. And to see everything we do, or if you want to receive notice of new releases, new products, and new events for artists, simply click the other link, which says, see everything we do. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Eric Rhodes of Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air Magazine. Today, a special treat for you, artist Cheri Christensen. The video is called Highlight.
Hi, I'm Cheri Christensen, and today I'm going to show you how to paint farm animals. You can actually use this approach to paint anything. If you haven't painted from life before, I would highly suggest that you paint a still life or something like that first rather than using the photos. The photos are great to show you the stance and stuff for an animal because, well, they move too much. But to learn light and color, it's best to start with a still life or a model, something where you can control the lighting situation and really be able to see the relationships of the color. But if you've already done that and you're ready to go on to the photo, we'll get started here. I'm doing a cow today, and this is a baby longhorn. As you can see, he's got a great contrast with his ears. His name's Marshmallow. And I love the backlighting coming through on him. So he's going to be my subject today. And let me just tell you a little bit about, I paint on an ampersand board. I've pre-gessoed it with Venetian red. It's an acrylic gesso. You can make your own color if you'd like. This works for me. It's sort of instead of toning the canvas. Don't feel like you need to do this. You can use just a plain white board or canvas and do your own tone with, I use odorless mineral spirits, and do a tone, wipe it down so you don't have too much on there that mixes with your paint, and just go for the overall color feel, or if you want contrast, you can do that too, of the piece. I like this because it doesn't mix in with the paint, and I like the warmth to come through because I paint fairly warm. Then, my paints are all Gamblin paints. This is a quick dry white. I tend to paint with a lot of paint, so I like to use the quick dry because otherwise it can take a very long time for mine to dry. The yellow is a cadmium yellow deep. I like the deep best because of the warmth. Yellow ochre, I don't use it a lot, but I do like it when like the cad yellow is too vibrant. It's nice to have to mix. The next is cad red light. And then I have a alizarin crimson permanent. The reason why I use the permanent is because light fastness on a lot of alizarin crimson isn't very good. So if you want your paintings to hang around for a while and stay the color that you meant to paint them, a permanent or something with a high light fastness will help. Next on the other side, I've got phthalo green, phthalo blue, and ivory black. With the phthalos, if you're not used to them, be very careful. A little bit goes a long way, and your whole paint can get taken over by phthalo if you're not careful. I like them because of their transparency and the power I can get with the color there. Let's see. Other than that, I use bristle brushes, as you can see here, with a few different sizes. I also occasionally use the palette knife, obviously clean the palette, but sometimes also on the painting. And how I'm going to start is I'm going to do a basic drawing on here with the brush. Basically, I'm looking for the layout, what I want as far as composition, where I want the cow to be. Spend some time on it. You don't need details on it because as you paint, you're going to come in and you're going to clarify more what you're doing. But you need to make sure your placement is right because you don't want to have all that paint down there and then have to move it. And lots of times you think, well, that's a nice spot over there. I don't want to change it. But if it's wrong, it's wrong. You got to move it. You could have a very nice eye, but if it's not in the right place, it's not going to do you any good. So spend the time of getting the composition where you want it first. After I do the composition, I'm going to come in and break it down between light and shadow. Light and shadow, most important thing. If you get nothing else, you get light and shadow, you're way ahead of a lot of people. So to make this easier to understand, I'll paint all the shadow area first so you can see how all the shadow connects. And even though we're painting a white calf here, most of him is in shadow, and it's not white. If you painted the whole thing white, it wouldn't be correct. So we're not talking about local color, like what color you think the calf is. We're talking about how light and shadow fall on something and all of the reflected light. So you're looking for color, forget what it is, you're looking for shapes. So that's how we're going to do it. Big shadow shapes first, then the midtones on the painting in the lights. The reason why you're doing the midtones first, so you have enough room left to come in and do the highlights on it. If you paint your lights too light, you won't have room for the highlights. So highlights, dark accents at the end, and you're done. So let's get started. I like to use, actually I'm going to put these over here. I like to use alizarin crimson for my drawing. That's just my personal preference. You can really use whatever color you want. I'm really looking for the big shapes here for the layout. Okay, I'm already seeing that I'm getting too close to the side because of those wonderful big ears. So I'm going to move it over a little bit. But see how little I had to move. If I'd done the whole drawing little bit by little bit, you would have just been wiping all that out. I'm just kind of measuring his head. Still bring it down a bit. I notice how many times I'm correcting my drawing because I want to get the placement right. Again, I'm not trying to get every little detail here. I'm just trying to get, how this part of the leg comes in front of that part of the leg. And when you're drawing, if you have problems, I mean, that cow's legs are pretty, there's a lot going on there. Try to look at the negative shapes. I'm trying to look at that there. He's got big Mickey Mouse ears, so it's kind of what makes him cute. So you want to make sure you got that. And this isn't quite right here. Come out more. Just looking at where they hit across there. Come down a little bit. And just measuring where the head goes to on each of those. Now, since he's a longhorn, or a baby longhorn, shorthorns, I want to make sure I got these little nubs here so I don't forget them. Now, if I have room, I'm going to try this. I always ad-lib a little bit from the photo. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'll get rid of it. But I I like tails. So his tail is just kind of right on the edge there. So I'm just going to see, since we have room to balance it here, matter of fact, I'd balance that better. If I can just give it a little tail flick. And then just make sure it looks like it's coming from behind there. Yeah, I like that better. Now I'm going to draw in the shadow coming from him here. This can't see a lot, but this is so late in the evening. I'll straighten that out. So late in the evening that you're just getting a little bit lightly hitting the ground. And an idea where the eyes are going to go. It's important to look where the ears hit. Against the eyes. Yeah, I think he's ready for light and shadow. And I wanted to talk value here too. Because when you're working with color, you've got quite a few things to think about. One, you want to think of what value, everything's relative to what's up here. And you want to think of your shadow shapes. So you've got them kind of cutting through there, up there, going around here. And then you want to think of your path of light happening. And this one is sort of rimmed in light, with light coming in through on the grass there. So you've got your value, meaning how, on a gray scale, how light or dark it is. But remember, you're painting in color, so it's a little harder to tell what value it is. While you're deciding what value it is, you're also deciding what hue it is, red, blue, green. And in that hue, how intense the color is. If you've got something very vibrant in intensity versus a grayed out color. And how you decide these things is looking at your canvas. So you have to start putting something up there and comparing one against the other. Everything's relative. Also, how warm or cool a color is. You can have warm and cool blues. You can have warm and cool yellows. It's not just all yellows warm and all blues cool. So you have to think about that when you're judging color. And it sounds like a lot to think about, but what you do is you put it on the canvas, and then you start judging it against the other things, and you make your adjustments on the canvas. Painting's all about adjusting all the way around. So anyway, let's get started. this calf has a lot of reflected color happening on him. So I'm just blocking in the big shapes right now. The reason you block in the big shapes first is you can compare the colors against each other, like I was talking about, the value, the intensity, whether it's warm and cool. And if you got a bunch of little strokes up there, it's hard to compare. Now you can go further and add those little strokes after you get the big shapes down. If you don't know where to start with the color you know first. So when you're comparing everything relative to it, you're comparing it to something that you believe is right versus a color you're guessing on, because you can skew your whole painting to that. Just keeping it in the big shapes, and I'll adjust my drawing as I go forward. Perfect. I like to have, very strong brush strokes in my painting, and I usually go different directions. But just so you know, with the camera on it and lights hitting it, we are picking up some reflection there. So just realize that reflection is not changes in value in the paint. It's light, it's hitting it. But because of the way I paint, just bear with me on that. It'll probably only happen in the darks. I'm loving the blue, which is really the sky reflecting onto him, but it's still in shadow. Same blue hitting over here. It's a little more pinky purpley cast hitting there, part of the head. Just noticing this line goes up more. See, he's got this thing under his chin here. I just want to make sure I don't forget to get that in. Okay, as we go further down, he gets warmer in here, probably the reflection coming off the grass. I don't use any medium when I paint because my Gamblin paints, which, I mean, you can choose any brand. A lot of them are really juicy, and these ones are real buttery. So, and I like the brush strokes to show. And the medium usually smooths that out, so I don't use it. But feel free to use whatever works for you. It's all about finding your own style anyway. Carry this down a little further. This leg's a little short. you don't want muddy color. So if you start out fairly vibrant, it's easy to tone that down if you need to. If you start out really gray, it's hard to pop it back up. And besides, if you really commit to a color, it's easy to tell if it's right or wrong. Still in the big shapes here. I have a lot of color changes, so I have to do that, but I'm still trying to not get too detailed at this point. Okay, I think we'll take a little break right here. Back in a moment. Okay, I'm back from the break. We're still working on the shadow area, so I'm going to continue in that. When I finish the shadow on the cow, I'm going to put some shadows in the background before we go forward. All right, here we go. A lot of warm reflection happening right in there. A little bit in here. Just like you have on the leg here. Darker there. Just touching up the drawing a bit. Sometimes you look at one area and you get stuck in that area, and I keep thinking, well, the legs need to be longer, but they're right where they are there. And now I've just noticed that where that is and where that is much higher up. So that's where I'm going to get my length. So I'm just going to bring this up. And this is a good time to do this because I'm not that far into the paint. When I come in with the background, it'll be a little easier, but I just want to make sure I have the placement right. There, feel better now. Okay, I'm going to reestablish this line. Hi, I'm Cheri Christensen, and today I'm going to show you how to paint farm animals. You can actually use this approach to paint anything. If you haven't painted from life before, I would highly suggest that you paint a still life or something like that first rather than using the photos. But see how little I had to move. If I'd done the whole drawing little bit by little bit, you would have just been wiping all that out. A lot of warm reflection happening right in there. A little bit in here. Just like you have on the leg here. Darker there. You can use any kind of brush stroke you want, whatever is comfortable to you and whatever effect you want. I go a lot of different directions. Some people paint all the same way. Some smooth it out. It's really personal preference. You can use the same technique to paint in whatever style you want. And the more you paint, the more you'll figure out what that is. Okay, it looks like I'm done. Thank you so much for joining me, and looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you.
Well, that was Cheri Christensen from the video highlight, and you can learn more about it at lilyartvideo.com. Remember, we have a special discount for you in the comments section.